All right, good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and this is a meeting of the Milford School Committee. We will start our night tonight with a student representative update.
Okay, so for starters, we just started semester 2. Pretty big news. We wrapped up midterms last week, and then we had a nice long weekend to relax, take a break, watch the Patriots game. And then when we came back on Tuesday, we had a course selection day where students met with every class to discuss placements for next year. And now our guidance counselors are working extra hard to place meetings with every student to plan next year's schedules. As we look into the second semester, we have some very exciting things coming up. First, a group of students and 2 of our Spanish teachers are headed to Spain in February, including myself. That's for an exchange program, so we'll be staying with host families. Best Buddies is preparing for their annual pageant in April. And then we have a couple dances coming up. So sophomores have their ring dance, junior prom, and then senior prom. The freshmen don't get a dance. And then the application process for National Honor Society has also opened up. So that induction will be in May. Next, I asked Mr. Boucher to share a couple highlights from the winter season so far. Our girls basketball team has been doing very well. They've been putting up a lot of points and putting up some good fights against the Hawk teams. We are currently top 20 in the power rankings. And so to make playoffs, you have to be 32. So right now we're looking really good. And then we've also had youth basketball teams play at pretty much every halftime. The wrestling team and boys swim teams are also expected to clinch the Hawk titles again. So this would be this swim team's 2nd year in a row and the wrestling team's 6th year in a row. The girls' indoor track team broke a school record in the sprint medley at the state relay race. So that was Liza Mora, Juliana Senna, Iana Correa, and Kira Murphy. Our unified bocce and strength and conditioning teams are getting ready for their playoff jamboree. Our cheer team is headed to nationals in March, and then they will also be recognized at the State House for their fall state championship. And then lastly, we're preparing to host the boys and girls Hockomock Swim Championships in 2 weeks. And then for music, we have a classical concert on the 25th of February at Town Hall. That's featuring the chorus and orchestra, and we are super excited to play at Town Hall. We haven't played there since pre-COVID, I believe, and the acoustics are amazing. And then we also have our annual band and orchestra vertical concerts. Those are at the gym, so acoustics are not amazing, but it's okay. And then just this past weekend, we had several musicians perform at the Central District's concert. We had 5 band members and 6 chorus members. And then finally in April, the music department is taking a trip to Hershey Park. And that's pretty much all I have tonight.
Any questions?
So what are we looking forward to in Spain?
I'm really excited. So we're going to Malaga, and then we're going to do Granada and Madrid and Sevilla. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Nice.
My mom's a little nervous, though.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the recognition of promising practices recipients.
So I'm going to invite up Christine Shabbat, Kelly Horn, Carolyn Glynn, and Heidi Squadrito from Memorial. You guys can come here. And each year, the Blackstone Valley Curriculum Consortium recognizes and celebrates educators from member districts, which we're one of, that present innovation and best practices. This past school year, we recognized the outstanding contributions to the profession of teaching of these 4 ladies. Christine Shabbat is a kindergarten teacher at Memorial. Kelly Horn is a 1st grade teacher at Memorial. Carolyn Glynn is a 2nd grade teacher at Memorial, and Heidi Squadrito is our math specialist. And they created what we called fishbowl classrooms. And so I'm just going to read a blurb from the promising practices of education that they received at the breakfast at BVT. Together they developed a kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2 classroom that implements illustrative mathematics with integrity through intentional unit and lesson internalization planning. Through this work, fishbowl classrooms were created to share best practices while implementing illustrative mathematics and create a professional learning community at the school level where teachers learn from other teachers while strengthening their pedagogical skills and deepening their mathematical content knowledge. This group of teachers saw some of the greatest growth in their students last year at Memorial Elementary School in mathematics, and I know that they're continuing to improve their practice this year. They are also working to become teacher leaders by facilitating different TCT times with their colleagues. They're teaching them different math content that's present in the warm-ups of illustrative mathematics, and they're supporting their colleagues in consistent planning and implementation. And so a huge thank you and a huge congratulations to you guys on the Blackstone Valley Curriculum Consortium's Promising Practices Award for this past school year. I didn't tell you all when we invited you all, but does anybody have anything that they want to share with the school committee? Not that I want to put you on the spot, about your experience or work with your students.
I mean, I am honored to have this experience. It has really changed my practice, and I'm excited to lead this forward to my colleagues. It's something like we always want to grow, and this is a good next step. I want to thank all the administration and support, because without them, it probably wouldn't be possible. So it means a lot that you, entrusted us to do this, and thank you. That's beautiful. Everything she said.
Well, I will say, tomorrow afternoon, we're actually all going to Kelly Horn's classroom in grade 1, and we're bringing some teachers from Woodland down to see some of the great work, and so that they can continue to kind of build their practice together as a group of teacher leaders at different grade levels, but also start to spread it at Woodland and eventually at Brookside. So they're continuing to do the work. Also, although they got this award this past school year, I know that they're continuing to grow in that this year.
Can I add?
Yeah.
I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't also recognize Carrie, who was also instrumental in this. She led a lot of this work. We talked about, I believe during last year, we talked about a lot of the work that was going on in these fishbowl classrooms. And this really being a model for professional development, not only in Milford, but across the region. This is the kind of professional development that moves kids forward and moves teachers forward, and I think that they would agree. It's a heck of a lot of work, though. A heck of a lot of work. They worked. I think they met weekly, right? If not more.
Mornings.
But it's the sustained coaching and somebody facilitating all of these different meetings that really help them hone in on the skills and the practices that we wanted kids to know. So this is a huge accomplishment for these 4 teachers, a huge accomplishment for Carrie, and I'm glad to see that we're able to move it forward over at Woodland and try to keep spreading it. But it's a huge commitment too, and so that's not lost on me, the amount of time and effort that you all put in on this. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Any, excellent, definitely. Thank you for that. It's a lot of hard work. Questions or comments from anybody on the committee? Yeah, sure.
So thank you. I know so much work goes into it, particularly where it's a new curriculum. And then on top of that, we dropped another new curriculum on you. So thank you also for all that hard work. We really appreciate it. Because it's a newer curriculum for Milford, I'd love to hear either from one of your perspectives or maybe even what you think from a student's perspective in terms of how the core curriculum is also helping drive this growth. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? It's our students learning. Just curious kind of your takes on IM. You know, we sit here and we get to hear about it and we approve it, but we don't necessarily have that true appreciation for what that core HQIM looks like in practice. I don't know if you'd be willing to comment on that.
I can say. I think that we were very lucky because when Carrie first introduced this curriculum to us, she was very thoughtful and she was very precise in how she led us in our PD for the first 2 years, almost 3 years of it. So we had a pretty solid background of it, like from a high level. But through this process, we've been able to really internalize at the unit level and the lesson level. So when we go into a lesson with our students, we know exactly where IM wants to lead them, and then we can be the ones to help facilitate them getting there. It's definitely an exploration first, with the teacher in the backseat, which is very different than how we were trained to be teachers, and also just curriculums in the past. So it's actually been really nice to take a step back and let our students lead us, and then we can kind of look at their misconceptions. We can take pieces of the standards that we now have internalized, and we can input it into that curriculum. So it's been a really positive experience for all of us, because of Carrie's leadership, and then allowing us to then become leaders of our own in our school.
That's excellent.
I'd also like to just add on, I don't think it would be possible to do this level of professional development and diving into the curriculum if we didn't have a curriculum, which is
Sure.
what was before. And then we're also able to see the progression of standards in a really thought out way that IAM did for us. And yeah, it's just been a big learning opportunity.
Excellent. Well, thank you all, because I know the core job is so much work, and then to layer this on, and not only do your students benefit, but it sounds like the entire school district and maybe beyond is benefiting from hard work, so thank you.
And learning from all of these ladies and the collaboration has been key.
Can I push
Yeah.
that to give you Can you guys talk a little bit about like the shift, right? So like what is the difference between when you were teaching your lessons that you guys were writing and IM? Like what is making it different, and what is making the HQIM so important for you in IM?
I think it's the way we, thoughtful questioning, and just knowing the standards and diving in. Our, previous curriculums were spiraling. We touched upon a topic. This is it's different. It's
And not knowing where they came from. Like I teach second grade, so not knowing what exactly was taught in first grade and what I'm preparing them for in third grade.
It's been a good opportunity to see like how we all connect and like the why behind our math, because yes, we used to teach a curriculum that spiraled, and so you get glimpses of like the why, but it's very intentional, and so we can then deliver it. And then also like there's like all these little like math language routines that are really great, not just for like our multilingual learners, but for all of our students. And we've gotten to do like different protocols with them that we probably would have never had the experience to get to do.
That's great.
For me, I get to go in all 3 grade levels, and seeing when you spoke about the progression, it's really interesting. I'll be in, if people are really on pace, which we are much better being on pace now, but I'll be in maybe a kindergarten room, and then I'll go to first grade, and the lessons are, they're like sisters. So what they're learning in kindergarten is setting them up for what's happening in first grade, and first grade into second, and it's like, it's the same lesson, but at the level and what the goals require at that grade level. So it's really interesting to see that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Also, we mentioned the progression from year to year, but IM does a really nice job of making the progression within the year really purposeful. Just specifically thinking about second grade, we learn about the ruler, and then after we do our whole measurement unit, then we talk about the number line and talk about how that's connected, and the students are much more prepared to learn about the number line because they've seen a ruler before and they understand what a ruler is.
That's really tangible. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Comment. Just thank you for diving in on this, and it's a little bit of a wilderness. You don't know what you're gonna get yourself into, but thank you for all that hard work, and it looks like you're having a lot of success with it. So keep it going, and hope it branches out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick, well, first, congratulations and thank you. Question, feedback from parents, like how have they received this new change, and anything that stood out to you in particular? If there is.
I think it's a shift.
Okay.
Because even when we were in school, it was more based on like your procedural math skills, like your math facts. And it was more memorization based. It was very surface level. So when we're sending home more higher level questioning along with those math facts, they're like, well, why can't you just give us like a math fact sheet? And I'm like, I love this. We want fluency. We also want them to know why when you add those 2 numbers together, you're making a 10. Or why, when you're adding 20 and 30, you get 50 because of place value. So we've had to kind of preview not only for our students but for their families so that it can be as successful as possible. IM does give us like these really great family letters that we get to send home before each unit.
That's great.
So it's really nice that we can give the info to our students, but we can also help their families stay connected too.
Great. That's something to look forward to now.
So exciting.
Thank you.
I'll just say, you guys don't realize the dots you just connected for me too, because my second grader at Brookside today was in a bit of a ranting mood, talking about how she feels like this is like the third year in a row she's done the same thing again. It sounds like she has, with additional steps to it. So it all connects, and you know, to their point, it's a shift because when we grew up, it was, you know your times tables because I told you to, and it works. But knowing the why, I think, is a big deal in a world where that's a lot of collaboration and questioning is just normal, and even in the business world. So thank you for what you guys have been doing. I think it's a huge benefit, and I look forward to seeing how this grows too. All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we do have invitation to speak next, and I do not see anybody for that, so we can move along to announcements, correspondence, and distributions. Anybody have anything here? See nothing. Okay. We'll go to the general chairperson update. I have two quick things. There is an update from the MSBA side. I believe, was it last week? 2 finalists were selected to be interviewed for the designer phase. Did I get that right? So that will be happening in the coming weeks, I believe.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. There we go. Thank you. And then the other update I have for you is last week a group of people consisting of myself, Dr. Consigli, and some people from the MTA met to start a discussion on the specialist workload, specific committee to talk about essentially non-teaching staff positions of workloads and stuff like that. So it was very high level, but it was a good session of just getting things on the board in terms of what these positions are and what we're looking to accomplish. So I am pretty confident that I think a lot of good stuff's going to come from there. It was a good discussion. So more to come on that one. And we can go on now to the supervisors of attendance update. Thank you both for making time to be here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having us again. So, I'm Victor Canino. I'm the guy on the left. Dale Olson, my partner, we're partners. So since last year, so there was a little change in regards to how we're approaching the attendance. The administration here at the high school wanted to have an attendance supervisor in the building. Dale and I were doing the whole district last year. So this year, they switched it up, kind of like a pilot program, if you will. So Dale's been basically focusing in from grades 9 through 12, and I've been handling K through 8. So we've divvied up the responsibilities in that sense. So I'll speak to the issues, what we're doing in K through 8, and Dale will clean up and do 9 through 12. So, in terms of K through 8, so basically, if you guys remember, last year we spoke about how we're going about approaching the issue. So I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, we're trying to identify the families that are usually chronically absent, right? So if you look at it from K through 12, so during we're identifying those families K through 2, beginning the process of, hey, this is important. You got to kind of keep an eye on this. and so on and so forth.
Sorry.
And just basically intervening all the way along. In any event, what does that look like? So what we, in essence, do is we have weekly meetings with the school building administrators or the building team, principal, assistant principal, adjustment counselors, guidance. And we go over the chronically absent list. And we start identifying who's who and what's what. Those more chronic cases, we whittle it down. So those cases that need immediate attention, we jump on those immediately and start addressing, making contact with the family and conducting interventions. As part of that whole process and how to kind of make the program stronger, we've gone out to the community in essence and try to, for example, we went to community use. So this summer program, at the end of the summer, just before school starts, we're going in and talking to the kids about the importance of school attendance, kind of planting the seed for the year. Also doing the same thing at the Milford Youth Center. Their camp, we're gonna be doing the same thing. A week before school, sit down, give them literature, hopefully they'll get it to the parents. We're gonna open it up to the parents, and if they show up, they show up. We're also working with the Family Resource Center, the FRC. So we use them quite a bit in terms of translation services. They have a lot of information as to the families, because a lot of the non-English speaking families usually call them first and say, hey, how do we handle this? So we kind of interact with them quite a bit. And then we got pediatric urgent care, which is a resource outside of the school system. They're in the community, they're social workers, and they basically help us, educate the family and help them, overcome the obstacles that are creating the absenteeism. So the interventions. So we meet, we identify, and we address. So what is an intervention? So again, we connect with everybody in the team in the building, right? Social workers, whoever wants to be part of the team, whoever, teachers, the more information we have, the better. Again, it's all about understanding the family's obstacles that are creating that absence, whether it's transportation, hunger, whatever it is, right? And then assisting with that. We got to meet them where they're at. We meet with the student. We approach the student, hey, what's going on? And, meeting with a middle school student as to why they're missing school. You get all sorts of different answers. So you can just imagine what some of the answers we hear. In any event, we also meet with the parents. If things ain't working out, and after the first initial intervention ain't working, we meet with the parent. We also conduct part of the intervention could be a home visit. And that takes different forms, right? Elementary school, some kids or some parents, for whatever reason, don't send their first kindergarten, first grader, second grader for 3 days, 4 days. Teachers get worried, hey, we haven't seen them. Do a wellness check. Hey, what's going on? So it could be food insecurity too, right? Hey, so there's that. For those families that are involved with DCF, we collaborate with them. We're starting to make better inroads there. So, you know, we're cultivating that relationship. And after this whole process, if things ain't working, then we have to start talking about court intervention, the CRA process. We're making some inroads in there. The problem that we've been having there is we've had 4 judges in 3 years, right? So there's a huge turnover there. That's out of our control. But, you know, and what you need to understand about that process, it's not a punitive situation. It's based on services, right? So if it ain't working, we go to them. We're doing everything. We explain what we've done, and then they help us get services in addition to what we're trying to get. And, yeah, so that's, but that's, you know, so another thing you need to understand, the CRA process is the last resort. We make sure that the parents understand this ain't punitive, this is all about services, and, you know, because the judge can order a court evaluation, and it gets it all into the social service type of component services, whatever you want to call it, about assisting the family. Okay, so this here is the attendance rate. So this is the overall attendance rate for the last 3 years. On January 6th, we had a 9.4% running attendance rate. In the previous 2 years, we had a running attendance rate in the same day, January 16th of the previous years, of 94.1. We had an increase of 0.3% running attendance rate compared to the last 2 years. It might not seem a lot, but the shift, it's impacting the ending attendance rate. So, see if I can explain this to you. So, this is, the attendance rate changes daily based on the number of days that we are in school. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And maybe I can explain it better with the next slide, which is the chronically absent. All right, so the rule of thumb is, or DESE's rule of thumb is, if a student is absent 10% during any given day during the school year, he's considered chronically absent. Right, so we've been in school, I don't know, 86, 90 days, somewhere in there. So right now, any student who's at 9, 8 or better, or higher, is considered chronically absent. Right? So that changes as the days go, right? So, during school year 23-24, we ended the year at 16.4 on K through 8. And that number is chronically absent students, as I'm saying. So last year, we had at 17.2. Okay, so you say, okay, what was the jump? There was the circumstances that we all see on the news. That was kind of, we think that was kind of like the increase, because there was 2 or 3 day period there. How many kids were out?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000 kids were out. So that just, so that's why that you see that increase, we think. And we, you know, and we sit down and we try to analyze these numbers, and we try to figure out the whys and the becauses. Okay? So, yeah. So as of January 16th of this current year, we're sitting at 15.6. okay? And that's basically K through 8. I'll let my partner take over for the high school.
Yeah, so at the high school this year, I was told this past summer that I'd be concentrating solely on the high school this year. So I met with the team here, Mr. Otland, Mr. Piergustavo, Ms. Zelinsky, Mr. Vito. They came up with a plan that they wanted to implement, and I've been implementing it. So it's a data-driven targeting. So this summer it started with grade 8. We recognized some of the chronically absent grade 8s, and what the team did this summer was started to meet with the families this summer, just to get a head start, to get them ready to be a freshman here at the high school. What I do here is each day I go through a list. We work with academics, attendance, ongoing bi-weekly analysis. Like I said, Mr. Altman and his team put together a great plan here that's all data driven. So I look at a spreadsheet every day. I have anywhere from 80 to 150 kids that I'll look at on a daily basis. That's on a daily basis. On a bi-weekly basis, on any given day, we could have 240 to 280 kids that could be chronically absent. So bi-weekly, I'm hitting those other kids and bringing them in. Yes, so early intervention is what we're targeting. So when I see a kid that is struggling a little bit, I'll bring them in. I'll do an intervention. We'll have a sit down. Along with that, I'm usually reaching out to the parent. To date, I've probably done about, I think I saw the number this morning, 350 interventions this year. So that's between me meeting with a student and me meeting with a parent. The team here is working closely I work closely with the adjustment counselors here, who have been great, the guidance counselors here, who have been great, pediatric urgent care, the Bridges program, and I meet with the vice principals bi-weekly. Yeah, so out of that, when I have an intervention, what we're trying to see is, like Victor said with K through 8, it's kind of the same drive. What I'm doing, is there something going on at home, right? We're trying to figure that out. Does this student need clothing? Do they need food? What's driving these students not to come to school here at the high school? When I figure that out, then I get the team involved. Is it a counselor? Is it a Bridges program or something like that? And I will refer them to that program, and then I still monitor along as they're handling it. Disciplinary, that's the last thing we want to do here at the high school, but I do have the ability to discipline a kid with a Saturday school if we can't rein them in. As you know, the CRA process works from 6 to 16. So at the age of 16, we can no longer use the court system to help us. So having the ability to tell a student, like, hey, you've reached X amount of days, you're gonna have a Saturday school. So I have the ability to do that. I haven't done too many of those this year, more for tardies than attendance. But our numbers are doing really, really well now, and we'll get to that slide. As you can see, we have the highest rate of improvement here in our district at the high school this year. Again, and that's driven by the team and what the team has done this year to improve attendance. We have the best reduction in chronic absenteeism in our district for this year. Rate of improvement is surpassing last year by a lot. Significant improvement from our 9th graders. I think that is because we targeted those kids this summer. The team did. Significant improvement in our ELs. Yeah, so it's that's going to be our protocol. I just want to touch just a little bit, and I'll give you some more numbers. So 24-25, our 9th grade was sitting at 24.6%. We're currently 4.1% down in our 9th grade. 10th grade last year finished the year at 29.9. Chronically absent, we're down 9.3% right now at 20.6. 11th grade finished last year at 33.8. Chronically absent, We're at 10.8% down right now. Our senior class last year finished at 36.8% chronically absent. We're down 8.1, and we're sitting at 8%. So I think what we're doing here and how we're targeting here is working. We're halfway through the school year. I don't have one single kid in court right now, right? And our numbers are dropping drastically. I think it's because of the team here. Mr. Altland, our vice principals, our guidance counselors, they're making a concerted effort this year to get attendance here at the high school under control, and right now it's working. Do you want me to speak on this? Yeah, so we've come up with a district-wide collaboration in trying to align. So we cross paths quite a bit, Victor and I, because of siblings. Right, so we're always collaborating together. We could have one in high school, one at Woodland, one at Brookside, one at Memorial, right? So what we're trying to do is make sure everybody is
informed.
Yes, and we're all on the same page, and we're sending the same message district-wide of how we're handling absenteeism.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So that helps us with the families. As you can imagine, some families are where they are in their processing time. And they're struggling or whatever. And what we kind of figured out was that the parent has to go to work and has to keep the lights on and everything else, and can't be going to 4 different meetings if she has, or 5 different meetings in 5 different buildings and missing work. So basically, if Dale finds out that there's siblings in K through 8 or whatever, or I find out that there's got a sibling, I'll call him, have you met with her, with the parent, what's going on? And that way, we can kind of, be unified with one solid message, district-wide solid message for that one family. So you're dealing with one family as opposed to 4 or 5 different kids. And that seems to be working and catching on.
I think it's just, it's data-driven, right? And so everything gets logged, all the numbers, so I can see on a daily basis, hey, is this kid, is he in the green, doing well? If he starts to go in the red when I look at him on a daily basis, I immediately do an intervention, right? It could be a phone call home. It could be pulling the student in. Like I said, I've done like 340 interventions this year, so I'm constantly having kids come down and building relationships with them. And I think in the high school, obviously it's working. Our numbers are dropping drastically, and these kids are coming to school at a better rate at the high school this year. Like I said, I think it's been a team effort here at the high school. Everybody is on the same page and working together, and it's making a difference here.
So you see up there, continuing to define consistent Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 attendance interventions across the district. Right, so the MTSS system. So, multi-tiered, what's the S stand for? I can't remember, I'm just having a blank. Support system. Sorry about that. So Tier 1 basically is every student. There, the message that we're trying to get out to the community, overall community, is school is important, these are the reasons why, and that's part of the going to community use and the youth center. We're trying to come up with ideas on how to open up that message to make it, cast a wider net, okay? A couple of years ago, we went to the local TV station and we kind of had a quick informative session. So we're kind of mulling that around.
I think if I could just add and kind of wrap up for you guys, I think what I think is most important to point out in this presentation is the fact that the high school had this plan. And I don't know if you remember, but last year in the budget cycle, Josh had put up another attendance supervisor. So we talked it through, and I know they had a plan. So we assigned Dale to the high school just so we could see Josh execute the plan and see how it would go. Proof of concept, really, and that, by all accounts, it's going well. So the key next step for us is how do we take what we've learned at the high school now and apply it to Victor in the role that he's at. I think early when we had initiated our attendance officers, we focused solely on the lower elementary schools. But I also think that Dale's work this year is proving that, if we intervene with older kids, we can make a difference with older kids. So it may be that next year that we assign Victor just to Stacy Middle School, and we figure out a plan for the elementary students. But maybe let's try Stacy and see if we can make some headway there. So I think they're both doing a great job. They both are important members of the team, and I'm happy to see the work that they're doing, and the proof is in the statistics that we're seeing. So well done, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you for this information. Appreciate the data-driven concept. Obviously, it sounds like the plan, particularly at the high school, is really working, which is great. So thanks for all your efforts. We're about to enter our budget season, and I know each case you deal with is probably fairly nuanced in terms of what do the children and the family need. Any themes that we can consider from a district perspective in terms of what we could fund that would actually really make a difference in addressing some of the challenges?
I think
we tried a unique, I'm giving an example. We tried a unique bus route, an additional bus route at one point. Like, are there anything that's coming up that?
I think that worked.
Yeah, because transportation obviously is an obstacle.
Is a driving factor, but
especially in the winters.
Winter, right? So our numbers are going to creep up a little bit. I mean, we're hitting, I saw the snow that's coming, the cold that's coming. Last year at this time when we would have a 1 degree, I got in my car at 5:30 to come to lifts the other morning, and it was 1 degree, and all it went through was not to go train my kids. I'm like, how many kids are going to be out today in the high school? Last year we would have 140 to 160 out. On that particular day we had 87. So I'm like, all right, well, it's working, right? We talk about transportation. Ms. Smith back there, I constantly call her. I'm like, can we please get this kid on the bus? I know he's 1.7 miles, but can he walk here and get on a bus? I mean, transportation's a huge thing, especially, with our kids.
And then maybe one suggestion, I know you're trying to do a lot of tier 1 effort. Maybe the summer lunch program is a good stop around sort of that circuit.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much for coming in to present. Obviously, the numbers don't lie. Certainly, we've made some really great gains at the high school, and as Craig said, how to bring that down to the middle school level. Dale, you touched on a little bit on tardiness.
Yep.
I get in the future, maybe we can see some of that and kind of where are we at, and then any strategies that we're using there. And I don't, again, no need to really speak to it, but I think that's also important, that showing up is one thing, but also showing up on time, because we know that it's going to be a lifelong expectation. So to set that expectation very early.
Yeah,
so, thank you.
Yeah, I like the proactive approach that you're using. Those are the pilot program. It's been helpful, and obviously, like what Craig had said, the students in high school, if they feel like they're important, you're calling them, you're looking for them, that definitely can help. Just a little insight. What happens when you knock on a door? Like when you have are you multilingual, bilingual?
Yeah, I am.
Yes. Okay.
So, were you 10 out of 10 times?
Mm-hmm.
Call first, right? Hey, we're coming. This is what right? We go together, for safety reasons and the rest of it, and we just have a discussion, and this is what we.
Victor's Spanish, right? English and Spanish. So if we're going to a Portuguese house, where we will have an FRC member meet us at the house, so we can have a meeting.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so it's low key.
Yes.
And Victor, you shared with me that a lot of times those conversations are really focused around like the hopes and dreams of the families, right? And it's less punitive, right? And so it's not them showing up and strong arming the families to get to school, but really starting to like unpack the hopes and dreams and how attendance is really important as a part of the hopes and dreams of of the families to get their children into the schools.
That usually gets them. I mean, it drives the point home.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks, guys, for having us.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, we can move on to the Director of Transportation update next.
No, it's mine. Yeah.
Whoa.
Hi. Craig, do you have the slideshow, or do we need to put it up? I think.
It's in the agenda. It's in everyone's agenda.
Do you want me to present?
No, you don't.
You guys
have
all
to.
have it up.
Everybody
Yeah.
has it,
I have
so.
it. Yeah.
So my name is Lauren Smith. I'm the new transportation director for Milford Public Schools. I've been in the job 6 months now. Learning curve, to say the least. But I'll be brief with my comments, as you all have the slideshow, and I've gone over this with Craig. Heading into the budget season, as you hear, transportation is always going to be one of the bigger expenditures that we have, and if we can increase, we try to do that. Here in Milford, we run a hybrid model of our own buses and vans, and also we partner with Vendetti and other contractors, depending on the situations. Most of our out-of-district runs are contracted out so that we can keep the vans that you see out front here in district for our special education students, which currently to date we have 124 students that we are transporting on vans and the minibuses to our local schools here. Out of district students, I think we're at 56 that we send out of district on vendor vehicles. And then every day we have the influx of the McKinney-Vento homeless students, and we also have foster students that come through that we need to find transportation for. So those are on the fly. Bids are quick between companies trying to figure out who can give us the best rate tomorrow. So that's definitely been challenging, but you know, it's been fun actually to see the difference in jobs from where I came from in recreation and running summer camps and after school programs to this side of it. So I have enjoyed it. There are legal requirements that I've had to learn about, that kids can't be on a bus or a van for more than an hour if their trip is from here to Worcester and they stop and pick up a couple of other kids and it extends beyond that. We have to find a new ride. So those are the things that I'm learning along the way. From a budget standpoint, we do try to maximize our in-house bus drivers for field trips, for athletic trips, if we're transporting students from Stacy to here for tours, because, you know, we figured out on a spreadsheet that it's much more cost effective. It's not free to have our buses run those routes, but it's definitely more cost effective than a vendor. Vendetti's been a fabulous partner for us, for me, to learn the routes. I mean, they definitely know our bus routes and the students. So I've learned a ton from Vendetti. Of course, my focus is that transportation is safe and compliant and financially responsible for every single trip and every single day. I just look forward to continuing doing what I'm doing in the learning curve of it, and you know, Craig have been instrumental to that as well. So that's kind of where I stand at this point. If you have any questions, I'm, you know, more than happy to try and answer them or get back to you with answers in the future.
I'll open it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, first, welcome to the district. I'm sure it was quite a bit of a learning curve, so I appreciate the efforts that you put in. Thank you for all that. It may be a little challenging to answer this question now, just because you've probably, I don't know if the word's instrumental, probably feel like you've been treading water for a little bit, as opposed to like really, you know, getting into your groove. Do you see any new initiatives that you, like, just from what you've been able to see in the last 6 months, new initiatives going forward, maybe not even from next school year, but from the year after, that you would like to try to implement and go forward with?
Something I would like to move forward with is, Craig's not going to like this answer, but bus registration.
What is that?
So we, as you can tell, I've touched upon a subject real quick here.
I love that.
This is great, yeah.
We transport many students to and from babysitters or daycares or grandparents' houses, and we try and have them from point A to school back to point A. We don't want a point B unless there's a legal case of, whatever that would be. If we implement a bus registration, now that doesn't mean a fee would be associated with it. It would just be paperwork, a Google form most likely to start with to figure out how to make it work better, of where they are. I have over 1,000 emails since the beginning of school of address changes. Trying to keep up on where kids are through the FRC is a challenge. So if it came through my office at the beginning of the year, and not that that would be perfect either, but it just possibly puts it on somebody's radar, like, hey, we moved, or we need transportation from the babysitter or the daycare, rather than us going to their house and they're not there. Oh, well, we're at this place. And that doesn't go through the FRC. So I think if I could figure out how to get bus registration implemented, I've been in talks with Framingham, who has a very similar, community to us. They do bus registration with fees associated. So Angela over there has been a huge resource for me to try and implement that here. That is something I want to do.
I appreciate that response. I guess a follow-up question to that, do you see that as like a policy change that we would have to enact from the school committee's perspective? Or is that more administrative?
That's a great question.
You can get back to me on that one.
Probably a question for you to answer for her, and not her to answer for you.
Well,
if I could, I guess, just think out loud on that one, I would lean towards
administrative.
no,
Yeah.
because I think that our policy may be that we want to provide busing, transportation for students at no cost. Maybe that's the policy.
But the procedure
But how they do it
is on them.
is up to them. And if this is a tool that makes things more manageable, and it sounds like it would be nice to be able to know where you're expected to be to pick people up, so be it. But that is, I think, would be a decision for them to work out, in my view, anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Kudos to you, Laura, for taking all this on. I know it's definitely a very challenging area with literally moving pieces all the time. I totally appreciate that. We're about to talk shortly about student discipline. We've in the past had requests for bus monitors. I'd just be curious from your sense in terms of if there's a big need for that, just kind of any feedback. I would think discipline-wise they're dealing primarily with the building administrator, but I'm sure a lot maybe comes through you. Just curious if you have any
The
thoughts
bus
on that.
conduct forms definitely come through myself and Vendetti, and we share those with the building principals. Speaking with families if we need to. There is a 3-strike, process to having a student ride the bus if they're acting up. I think that's a work in progress.
Okay.
Monitors would definitely help. I don't know if they're critical, but it would be nice.
Sure.
From a budget standpoint, I can't say that it's something I would push for.
Would rather a 5-more driver, whatever, right? Yeah. Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Hiring them is the problem.
Yes.
It's hard to get
Hours
folks
and,
to,
sure.
well, it's hard to get folks to ride a bus for an hour in the morning and ride a bus, even our support staff.
Yeah, we've put the message out.
Just curious.
It doesn't sound fun to get on a bus with 75 kids.
I've done it.
Yeah.
More than once
Field
this
trips,
year
I would
already.
agree.
I don't know if you want to do that every day.
I just we're curious about the need. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do try and get out there, and I've ridden a couple of buses, and I've ridden in some vans to try and see what the routes look like and put things together. It's nice, but again, I would stand by it's not
Yep. Great.
critical.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in. This is a great presentation. Just kind of a few questions. If you're looking for some of the vendor provided, the collaborative and the collaborative schools and the private schools, you broke it down into the students. The sped out of district through Nick's Transportation in Bay State and the rates, is that just a one student cost for each one of those, or is this for or multiple
Um,
runs?
Let's see.
Just out of curiosity, just because
Yeah.
again, the other two you broke down with student totals.
So they're all per student.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
So then that's just an anticipated approximate annual cost there, so.
Correct.
That could fluctuate, as you said, from, when you look at from the homeless situation and foster care situation, obviously that could fluctuate a lot. Okay.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends on the location.
Then transitioning, looking at kind of our Milford bus routes, do we ever spot check our ridership to see where we are? So obviously a school bus has X number of seats,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming we try to maximize that through
Absolutely.
Do we ever spot check?
We do, yeah. So what I have learned, though, is a 77 passenger bus does not hold 77 people.
Okay.
Shocking, I know. Holds about 56 kids.
Okay.
So yes, we do. The bus drivers keep
Yeah.
track of how many kids are getting on and off. And most of them, because I've done their routes for so long, just kind of know who's coming and not coming. But what I do with my Milford drivers is have them give me a list of kids that aren't showing up, and then I check in with Dale or Victor and say, hey, is this kid actually riding the bus? Is this kid not riding the bus? And then we'll pull them off the software so that we can actually put somebody else on the bus if necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can kind of.
It does fluctuate, yes.
Yeah.
And
What do
we'll
you-
definitely have more kids on the bus
Yeah.
now with
Okay.
the winter months.
With the winter, okay. All right. So some of the highest of the highs are obviously like almost 100% ridership. What kind of do you see as some of the low ridership percentages?
So our high school runs typically don't have as many students. Bus 1, which is down by Depot Street, that will have 90% ridership.
Okay.
But once you get out towards Medway, Holliston, north side of Milford, our ridership drops to 30 or 40%.
Okay.
So
All right. Good to know.
I think that also
That's
falls in
yeah.
line with the community.
It's an ignorant question. If we're like, I'm thinking as your student goes through high school, maybe then they have access to a car. Are you supposed to submit that? Like, I'm just thinking I probably never like communicated that. Shame on me. No, seriously. Like,
True.
Right, so
Maybe
that
we
would be
should
your bus
communicate that.
registration,
Right.
right?
Well,
You are
that's the
supposed to tell the
registration she's
school.
talking about.
Got it. But it could change throughout the year, right, Lauren? So you would
It
want to
could.
update. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so every now and then the elementary schools will get notices from parents, oh, we're gonna drive the kids. So
Got it.
then we'll pull them off the bus and we can
Okay.
add somebody else.
Got it. Okay.
No, it's good point.
Yeah.
And then as we look at, the buses and the ridership and our local routes, have we looked at or considered, and we heard Victor and Dale talk about ridership absenteeism. So how does that relate to our policy in the mileage from school? Is that something that we as a committee would look at? And then also what's, the biggest driver to us is gonna be the cost impact.
Yep.
And that's where I'm asking about the ridership part of it too.
It's very connected,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
1.5 miles doesn't seem like a lot, but if it's
Sure
1
was
degree
yesterday.
out,
Yeah.
1.5 miles
Yeah.
is a long way.
100%. Yep. That's why. So I don't expect, I guess more the expectation is that something we would consider? Is that something we should consider? And then also, again, relating it to budgetary impacts, especially since we know we're doing contracts right now. And I don't know what that number is as far as helpfulness. That might be something, again, going back to Dale and Victor and saying, well, of the interactions, how many of those students are chronically absent due to rider?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the ways that registration could help us.
He's positive to it.
Well, the
Did he
worry,
just say that?
but the worry I have with the registration is we're asking families to register. What happens if they don't?
Right.
Now we've constructed
Yep.
bus routes for what we think is our ridership, but when we have a number of kids or families that haven't registered, and then here comes day one, are we gonna say, no, sorry, you can't get on the bus because you didn't register? That's one of my main concerns with that. It's I think it works in other towns because there's a fee.
Correct.
Right? If I want a bus, I know I have to register because I know I have to pay. Here, we're providing a ride for everyone,
Correct.
right?
Well, not everyone.
Well, everyone that falls out in
Right.
our,
Well, it's true.
in
It's
our
not
area.
everyone. Yeah.
Right.
And our area is smaller than what DESI actually requires.
We're more generous.
We are,
providing.
yes,
Okay.
which is great, and we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
DESI says 2 miles for under grade 6.
Wow. Okay.
So we don't follow
Right.
that rule.
Okay.
But yes, Craig, I understand what your registration
Yeah.
concerns
Yeah.
are. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's, again,
But-
there's a lot of
but-
moving parts and pieces, and
We certainly could
get
look
there.
at what it would cost to bus everyone, but I it's gonna be a lot of money. We're
Well, we
talking
bus
probably millions.
approximately half at this point in
Yeah, so-
time.
Wow. Yep. Well, I know there is the bus everyone, but there are always those families that just will bring their children to school via,
Yeah.
their home vehicle.
And maybe that's the registration piece, right? If you
Right, yeah.
fall within
Mhm.
the mileage and you want a bus, you have to register,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
and then that's how we get around the ride.
Yep.
Versus everyone registering.
All right. Sounds good.
I don't know.
So a certain radius.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
I'll just complicate it.
That might have just worked a little bit.
Shifting gears to the 70 van drivers. How are you doing on staff on that? I know in the past there's been a struggle. There's been a lot of need for subs.
Knock on wood, I'm okay at the moment.
Mhm.
I have drivers for all of the vehicles that I have. I would love some subs. Right now, I can pull from our vocational for our elementary runs, but not for high school or SACE runs because it falls on the same time frame of their days.
Okay.
But I'm doing okay. We're trying to hire. We had somebody come in, they just never come back.
Okay.
So that seems to be the story about monitors and drivers. But we're doing okay right now. My drivers are fantastic. They know the job inside and out, and they have taught me more than I could have ever hoped for in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
From cleaning off buses and in the process of doing that with snow. And so
Sure.
we were out here at 6 o'clock this morning making sure that it was ready to go. And
Right.
but they're great.
Yeah. With the 7D, do we offer training assistance?
We do offer to pay for all of their training,
Mm-hmm.
and we offer trainings throughout the year to bring them up to speed for their 8 hours that they're required.
Okay.
If you're over 70, which some of my drivers are, you have to do that every 6 months.
Okay.
So it is time,
Mhm.
it is time, whatever that.
Consuming.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
And they have to have a physical every 6 months. So it's a lot for somebody who's retired. And it's a split shift. So
Right.
I'm even open to the idea of having somebody work just the morning or just the afternoon, along with crossing guards too, because that's under my supervision.
Right.
Because somebody might be an early riser and somebody might want to do something in the afternoon. So I've even put that out there, and I've talked to the senior center and the library. So just trying to put the word out.
Any traction on that?
No.
I think it's a great idea, but yeah, just kind of curious.
We did hire a new crossing guard, but
Yeah. Right.
so that's good.
Good. Yeah, very good.
Almost a monitor.
Yeah.
Almost.
Almost.
Didn't come back.
Yeah, exactly. And switching over fleet maintenance, I know you put the cost in there. How do you think we're doing in that? Is it as expected? Obviously, you're newer to the job. We have our 7 vans. Obviously, they're on the roads a lot, running around. So just kind of curious on that
It
aspect.
feels like something's always at the auto body shop every week.
Yeah.
Buses too. I don't know where that stands. I've started to pull up the older spreadsheets to see what buses have. That's where the fleet management kind of came into play, was to see how many buses we were actually doing work on over and over and over, and deciding when it's time to be done with a bus or a van, and then
Right.
purchasing a new one or leasing a new one. So I don't really know yet,
Okay.
but I am trying to wrap my head around that.
No problem. And then last question,
Yeah.
budget-wise, and maybe looking over when, like, how are we doing on our overall budget? Last year we had to move some money, fully, probably expected again, but just out of kind of the globally, how are we doing on our transportation budget and our foresight for it?
Okay, I was going to update on the budget report.
All right then.
But no, that's
That's
fine,
fine.
I can share. Right now.
I'm ahead of the game.
I'm always ahead of the game.
Yeah, thank you.
Right now it's break even with the circuit breaker
Yeah.
reimbursement, but
Yeah.
we do have some students that's waiting to go out of district. So each student to look at the cost.
Yeah.
It's almost as high as their tuitions if
Mhm.
they're
Right.
far away.
Yeah.
So
'Cause-
it can go up
Yeah.
still.
Because the circuit breaker would apply to any of the, obviously the sped out of district placements. Does it apply to private schools, the collaborative, any
Yes,
of
so
those too?
Circuit breaker is taking to consider both tuition and the transportation.
Okay,
So if a student's cost is higher than the 4 times of per pupil cost, then that overage part is reimbursed back to us by 75%.
okay.
If the state has the budget. If not, they're gonna
Right.
cut it. Last year was
Yeah.
47% for transportation, but later they gave us a supplemental
Yeah.
to bring up back to 75%. So it's depending on the state budget, but they're shooting for 70% of that overage.
And can you repeat that again? It's if
4
the
times?
4 times over.
4 times over the average state per pupil cost.
Okay, excellent. I don't think
So
we've
it's
ever heard that
about
before.
53,000 right now. The threshold is about 53 or 55,000 right now. So any cost, if you combine tuition and the transportation together, and the total cost
Over 53.
minus that 4 times of per pupil cost, and then that is your eligible cost, and
Right.
then 75% of that
Okay.
is our reimbursement.
Excellent. But we don't know that until the end of the year, correct? And the reimbursement doesn't come
The
till.
reimbursement is from last year.
Mhm.
Basically,
Yeah,
it's
from
a
last year's,
it's a
yeah.
delayed
Right.
revenue.
Delayed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem. Well, great.
Yep.
Thank you, Wen, and thank you, Lauren.
We'll see.
Appreciate
We'll see.
Yeah, appreciate the presentation and all the answers, so.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about transportation is we have to get these kids to school, so it's,
Yeah.
it's one of the, fascinating aspects of the budget.
Exactly. That's why I have a lot of questions.
You totally can, and I'll,
And we have a lot of work done on the bid itself.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
went
Yeah,
over
we're
the
out to bid this year.
Over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, what's this contract status?
We don't-
we're-
Next
Still
week.
working.
We met with, we had an open meeting, right?
Mhm.
I don't, what do you call that meeting we had?
Pre-bid meeting?
Pre-bid meeting.
Right.
So now we're waiting for the bids to come in at
Yes,
this point.
yes.
Our pre-bid meeting, though, we had 3 vendors or
3
4?
3 companies. One is a like a vehicle supplier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So-
2, our current vendor
Mhm.
and another potential
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
vendor. They ask a lot of questions.
Yep.
Great.
Mhm.
So.
Very good. Thank you.
So I walked right into that one, too.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
Thank you, Matt. So I have more of a statement than a question.
Okay.
In the past, in the recent past, I've been a part of several conversations with town council to the point of your last slide. Why does Milford Public School own buses and vans? And I guess what I would highly recommend
Mhm.
is that you schedule some time to talk with town council. And Craig, I don't know if you've ever been a part of those conversations. Then I'd recommend you guys both sit down with town council, because the liability of owning a van if something happens could wipe out 30 years of cost benefits of having them in-house. I don't want to speak for him because I'll never articulate it as well as anywhere near what he will, but it's very, very, very eye-opening.
Okay. I think we should bring probably Wen and Carrie in on that, too.
Yeah, but, go ahead.
We may be about to say the same thing.
What's that?
I said we may be about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
We may have
that's-
been part of the same conversation.
In line with that, I in a discussion with FinCom last year in a formal meeting of our capital plan, gave probably the closest thing to a promise I'll ever give in this position to anybody, which was that we were going to finally figure out a way to answer their question as to what it costs us per day to run one of those vans that we own. Because every year we go there on a capital plan and we say we need to buy a passenger van, and they say, how is this cheaper than bringing in a vendor? And we've always, I guess, heard and been told the answer is it is. And looking at this at $120 per day for just the top line, it has to be. But when it comes to budget planning, it has to be isn't an answer that we can give them. So the good news is I'm not really asking for anything right now. We don't meet with them until April to talk about this again. But I did tell them that we would work really hard this year to try to get some ballpark of what it costs, because if you take that number and you couple it with what John is talking about in terms of the insurance piece, that's the piece that I think we're looking at in terms of whether or not they're going to continue to support our own internal vans. So just as a something to add to your list, unfortunately, I don't like doing that to people, but something to add there, if you could, would be very, very much appreciated.
Yeah. Again, I said I'm not going to speak for town council, but part of it is the liability in terms of the actual dollar amount that a municipality has versus that of a private vendor is just staggering, the difference. So I'll just trust that you guys will reach out to town council and make an appointment.
We will.
I know he'd welcome the conversation.
If you look at the next slide, right? I don't know if that's do you need clearer than that?
Sorry, I may have misread this. I read MPS Sped Van as being a specific vehicle. Are those the minivans?
Right? Those are the small vans
those
that we
are the
have.
specific vans.
So basically it costs us $474 a week to run versus $120 a day per kid.
Okay.
Or
then yes.
This is only staff, right?
$364.
It's only
right,
staff,
but yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't, I guess, count maintenance
And then it doesn't,
fuel
right, it
and all
doesn't
that.
include the maintenance on the vans, but
Yeah.
I can come up with a
Or the
figure.
upfront cost.
Yeah,
Right.
we can add in a
But this
mileage
is-
cost.
This is closer than.
Yeah.
I thought that was a specific, like there's a specific van that has an access lift in
No,
it.
that's about an average.
So if we had to run,
You could get something closer there.
Distance.
if we had to hire a company to do these runs, they charge us per student, and they charge us some
we do
fund. I don't know what it would be.
run a Milford student through a vendor because we're out of space, and
In district.
and they needed more support than we could provide, and that came out to $66-61 a day.
Okay. So this is a good start. Yeah, we could dial in just a little more about the van
Yeah,
cost and that
yeah.
stuff. But otherwise, something like that should be more than enough, I think, in terms of the financial discussion when we get to April.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Thank you. Any other transportation thoughts? No. All right. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's not mine. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So we can move on now to the report of the superintendent, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in your agenda, you have two links. All right, I'm gonna point you to the first link. All right, the first link, if you click on that, that's the recent DESI data that was released. This is from the data that we're reporting. It has everything you want to know about, suspensions, the number of kids that are disciplined, in school, out of school, kids that were emergency removed, so on and so forth. You can cut the data any way that you want. If you look at the top where it says offense, you can kind of scroll through and go through different offenses if that's what you want to do. I would say that this data is important data for us to look at and reflect on. It's not something that we're going to look at and say, wow, we decreased however many discipline referrals. I think that whether we have a discipline, like tracking discipline data is a very tricky, I don't know what the right word is. It's tricky to do because in theory you want to lower the amount of discipline referrals that you have. However, you don't want to overlook things either. So as things come up, obviously students are disciplined. I think it gets tricky when we're talking about, we're going to talk about K2 in a minute. You have to take a lot of other factors into it. So as an example, our teachers were telling us that they were feeling like at the K2 level, the kids' behaviors were ramping up, right? And kids, they were seeing behaviors that they didn't necessarily see from year to year. So this might be a good place to start with teachers to say, hey, here's where our old data was, this is where our new data is. It's not very different, or maybe it is very different. So what kind of changes would we have to make? I hope I'm being clear. So we would never take this and say, okay, we went down 35% in this area. So it's just something that we use to reflect on and go from there. Does anybody have questions on how to read it? Okay. The next link that you have, this is an update that I had made about the K2 classroom, it's a long title, sorry, Classroom Safety Procedures Task Force that we created. This came out of some concerns that our faculty and staff are having at Memorial and Brookside. So we put together a task force. The goal of that was to ensure that it's ongoing. So the goal of this task force is to ensure that student and staff safety is the primary focus of everybody, and then we're looking at the procedures to make sure that the way that we're working with students at Memorial is the same as the way that we're working with students at Brookside. On this task force, there's district administrators, school administrators, classroom teachers, support staff, special educators. We included TAs and BAs as well. We met on the half a days. I think I updated you on the first one that we met in December. That was a half a day. We met for the whole second half of the half day. We just had another one on Friday. That was about an hour and a half. We had assigned our school principals to do some work in between, so we had basically an overview of the work that they did. The themes that we were getting based on this work is that there's a need for consistent incident reporting in an accessible data system. Right now, a lot of the discipline data or the student behavior data is being taken on paper. Then from year to year, we lose track of it, right? Where I would say at the secondary level, we do a very good job of putting everything into Aspen. So we're working on getting our K2, actually K5 information. We do a pretty decent job at Woodland also, but getting all of that data into Aspen so that we have a continuous record of what's going on. There's this need of communication in common language. An example would be a support call versus a crisis call. So we have to make sure that we're using the same terms within our classrooms, but also the same terms between buildings, so we understand what we're really talking about. One thing that we also talked about was this a debriefing protocol. So a lot of times what we heard was students are in a crisis, they're removed from the classroom, they're stabilized, and then they're brought back to class with no real follow-up with the teacher. So the teacher's like, what's going on here? Why is this kid back? And nobody's really followed up. So making sure that there's a debriefing that happens every time with what happened and just understanding. And then also, I think that's another piece that was missing, was the administration didn't actually understand, because they didn't debrief, how it got to where it got to. So making sure that that all becomes formalized, and then making sure our behavioral expectations are understood, they're modeled, the kids understand how they're supposed to behave from the cafeteria to recess to the classroom to the hallways. All those things are reinforced in different native languages as well. And then creating clear thresholds with logical consequences. That was something that our teachers needed to see. So we're working on that too. I'm on slide 7 now. If you look at slide 7 and slide 8, this is some of the data that the principals provided. You could see in both instances there's a positive trend. As I think that we as administrators sort of expect to see, when you're talking about kindergarten, first grade, second grade kids, they're coming into a new school and a new environment. They're coming off a summer where they didn't have a lot of expectations put on them, or maybe they're coming into a country, or they're experiencing school for the first time and not exactly understanding what's expected of them. I think that's a lot of where we saw the incidents at the beginning of the year. You could see that they've been decreasing for a number of reasons. I think kids have, in some cases, we have some success stories where kids are understanding where they need to be. In other cases, perhaps kids were on IEPs and they were identified with a disability and then got moved into a different program, an appropriate program where they needed to be. So there's a lot of different reasons in here as to why we're seeing the decrease. But I also think it's important to note that when you're looking at this data, you're looking at the number of students that are involved. And it's, about a dozen kids at each school. So they aren't necessarily the same. So when you look at Memorial, for example, it says 13 kids and 12 kids and 12 kids. It's not the same 13, 12 kids or whatever. There might be a total of 30 kids involved here, but you get the point, I guess. I think where we're at next is our long-term goals, right, is hopefully by the end of this year we're looking to adopt an SEL curriculum across all of our K-2 classrooms that's standard. I guess sort of like our math program or our literacy program. Having a common SEL program is critical, I think, to our success. Providing comprehensive de-escalation training for our staff during contractual hours. We do offer it. We offer it beyond contractual hours, so it's really difficult for our support staff and the teachers to get to that. So trying to figure out a way to either pay them for their time or offer it during contractual time. Establish a school-wide positive behavior program. If you remember, a number of years ago we had PBIS. We sort of moved away from that. It must have been right around COVID when we did, and it just never came back. So reestablishing that to ensure that all kids know what's expected of them. Develop a curriculum so that within the first 6 weeks, all of our kids are feeling like they're part of the community. We're not just hitting the gas right away with math and literacy, but really community building so everyone feels like they're part of the classroom. And then finally, revise some of the procedures that we have in place in ensuring that what is in place at Brookside is in place at Memorial. and then it carries up through Memorial as well. Yeah, I think overall, in the 2 meetings that we've had with the task force, I think we're gaining some traction. We've had to get through some challenging conversations, but I think that we're headed in the right direction. I wish that we had more time to work hand in hand with classroom teachers. It's sort of like we saw in the fishbowl classroom at the beginning. I think that having the ability to talk with teachers through some of, like, I don't know, like a tabletop discussion about, if this happens, what should we do? I think that would help us immensely, and it would be more proactive instead of being reactive in the moment. So I'm pleased with the direction we're going, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversations with the union and the TAs and the BAs, and I think that getting everybody on the same page is essential to all of our success. So I don't know if anybody had any questions about that.
Say it sounds like a big undertaking amongst a lot of other big undertakings, so thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, for presenting on this. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces. When you're going back to slides 7 and 8 in the support call,
yeah,
and then just before that, there was just the definition and starting to use the standardized terminology between support call versus crisis call. Within what you have in slides 7 and 8, is that just more? That's all encompassing right now.
That's
so
both.
We haven't really broken it down.
No, and to be clear, like a support call, would be, there's one teacher in the classroom, or maybe even 2 adults in the classroom. They need somebody else to come in and help with this one student who's not exactly following directions, and get the student on board. They think that with a support call, it's not come with the entire team. It's send one person, and I think the one person can get this kid going to where that they need to be successful in the class. A crisis call, on the other hand, is we need more than one person down here. We need you quick, for whatever reason. A student is dysregulated, and it's escalating quickly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm well aware of that, and that's why I just try to kind of understand what supports we can put in place, and when that support call or crisis call comes in, we have a walkie-talkie system to communicate.
Yep.
So anybody available is able to kind of, as long as they're not already tied up in other situations,
that's part
meeting
of the
training
problem.
like that.
Yep. We do, and that was one of the things that we also identified, is that we have multiple ways of communicating with crisis calls or crisis teams, and that's not effective either. Like, we need the one way to do it. We don't need, like, this teacher's expecting to get on a text.
Correct.
This one over here is expecting the two-way radio. This one's expecting to pick up the phone. And so one of the other things that we're doing as a district is looking at an app. I think that also came out of the swatting call at the high school, where we need one quick way to communicate with people that everybody expects. So that's something that we've been looking at as our district response team.
Yeah. And then, just going back to the CPI training, I know through the labor and management meetings, there was a big discrepancy between Memorial and Brookside and the number of staff that are CPI trained by large numbers, double-digit numbers. So, I think that's going to be something that we, as this committee, are going to have to look at ways of trying to even that out, and how we, from the budget side of it, need to be there. Because again, from the labor and management side, I heard, the fact that Memorial has, I'm just going to spitball numbers, like 50% of their staff, whereas Brookside only had 25% of their staff, right? So it was definitely a big discrepancy in that training. which, as you're seeing by the numbers of Brookside, is needed. So.
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say this with budget season coming up. I also think one of the ways where we don't support staff is we don't provide the training to BAs and TAs before they actually go in the classroom, right? We're short-staffed with BAs and TAs. So when they come in and we get them signed up, we're eager to get them in the classroom, but we have to realize we need to, take a week, slow it down, get folks acclimated, help them understand the expectations, help them understand what they might see in a classroom and how they can be successful in the classroom. We just don't do it. We expect the teacher to do it. It's hard for the teacher to do it because the teacher's teaching, right? So how do they provide training on the fly? So I think that's something that moving forward we need to figure out a way to get better at.
That'd be, part of the, I guess, one of the long-term goals.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else on the topic? All right. Thank you for that. I think that's all you have, right?
That's it, yes.
All right, so we'll move on to the report of the interim assistant superintendent for teaching and learning.
All right, I just have a quick literacy update for you now that we're halfway through the school year and where we are in our exponential learning adoption at the elementary level. So 2 numbers that I think are really exciting to highlight is that we are seeing 96% of our classrooms engaging with texts that are grade level appropriate, complex, culturally relevant, and worthy of student time. We're also seeing 80% of our classroom teachers asking and using guiding students through text-based questions that progress from literal to deeper intentional thinking, which is aligned to grade level standards centered on the grade level appropriate texts. So those are 2 key pieces and data points that we look for when we walk into classrooms with a learning walk with this new adoption. And the fact that those numbers are so strong halfway through the school year with a new HQIM is important to see and is exciting to see. We knew that this part of this adoption was about getting high quality texts in the hands of students. And so we're seeing that consistently, I would say. You're not going to see 100% because when you walk into a classroom on paper, it might say that they're, starting their literacy block, but they're actually transitioning back from art and they're doing a quick brain break before they jump in. And so that's where you're never going to really see 100% on these measures. And so a percent of 96% is really, really strong. We're continuing to support our teachers during contractual time through unit planning, lesson planning, which is really centered again on that text and on the assessment. I was actually at the contractual time yesterday at Brookside where teachers were working in grade level teams to analyze the end of modular assessment and then identify key activities in the different lessons and how they connected to the modular assessment. It was a great conversation and it really focused on the questions that teachers had about the lessons while also staying grounded in the text of the modulars and the units. And so the fact that they're able to get to this level of assessments, again, only halfway through year 1 of implementation, is a huge shout out to the work that the teachers are doing, but also Carol's leadership. We're looking forward to our winter visit from our consultant at TNTP. They were supposed to come next week. We actually shifted it to the week before February vacation just because of their flying in the pending snowstorm. So this way we plan ahead instead of getting caught at the last minute. But what they'll do is they'll do another round of learning walk data at our elementary schools and work with our building leadership around our implementation with Fidelity. It'll be really nice to get an outside perspective of how they are seeing our implementation going and give us some advice on kind of next steps that we can take. So a lot of great work is happening in literacy, and we're starting to see that result in terms of the data from the learning walks, and we'll have another round of that learning walk data shortly.
Any questions or comments there?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that update. Okay, so we'll move on to the report of the school business administrator next.
Okay, so you opened up the FY26 budget update spreadsheet. the balance is looking okay. And like I said previously, transportation cost right now is if you add up line, that 3300 line, add up this with the offset transportation, so it's about break even right now. But if you look at the tuition lines, there are about some like $1 million balance there, because some students probably they stayed in the district through some programming, or they moved away. So that's good news. But right now we have about 7 students in referral. One is a really big ticket item, so which means they can go out anytime. It's a long process. That's why maybe they are planning at the beginning of the year, but with this long process, with parents' consent and visiting of programs, now we're at the halfway done, and there are 7 still stay in our district. So it's about $700 for the year budgeted, but right now, if you prorate the dates, we're like obligated to half of the cost. But that said, we have 3 months until April 1st. So we don't know if there's any move-ins, severe needs students. So we cannot say for sure yet, but we just hope at the end of the 3rd quarter we can reallocate some of the funds to support transportation and the maintenance of the building and equipments. This year we have some pipe burst issues, so the balance is we're working with Carlos to have a plan to go through this year, but I think potentially we will need to relocate some of the funds to support the building. Any questions about the 26 budget? Okay.
Maybe just a follow-up one, and it's probably
Sure.
more for Craig. It just came up during labor and management this week. Just could Carlos prioritize potentially any drafting? I'm just looking at the heating number.
We,
You already did that.
I wrote all
Great.
the things down,
Okay.
and he addressed them all today.
Perfect, thank you. That's great. Thanks.
Okay, about the 27 budget, I don't have any attachments because I sent everybody the very preliminary budget. I ask you not to look at the numbers right now because we're still work on it. Because since last conversation with the principals and the department heads, it has been about 2 months, so I have to go back and get the accurate numbers. And just a refresher how to read those. If you have a chance to look at the attachment, there's a summary sheet listed by function centers, and then you can see the level service percentage and what's the percentage after we added all the new initiatives, and you can see the percentage by levels of priorities. And then there's spreadsheets by school, by department. You can see their increases. And then we have new initiatives breakdown by priorities and the personnel initiatives. And also, if you are curious about any line items, you can go to the justification sheet to see what's the composition of that, of what they ask. But the numbers, you can see some of the placeholders still there. For example, our first meeting is on the 28th. Our transportation bid is opening on that same day, so in the morning. So I'll probably update that before I go to that meeting. And then on the transportation bid, we have the 2 bids with one with camera and one without camera. So this is a discussion. Are we going? Which one are we moving forward? Yeah, this kind of things, placeholders, and of course the negotiation with unions. So yeah, the numbers are preliminary, but we have done a lot of work. Like this year, I feel like we put a lot of strategic thinking and innovative initiatives. That's why a lot more work needs to be done. Like we have to move around our meetings to have to meet and like talk to principals and give feedbacks and then like back and forth many times. And tomorrow we have a leadership meeting and we're gonna share the budget with them and then continue to
Refine.
work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have a question.
All right.
Yeah, just a quick question.
Sure.
So, yeah, obviously our first meeting is next Wednesday, so we're ready to go. You know, we appreciate the packet. Obviously, as you said, there might be some changes number-wise in there, but we're ready to go for next Wednesday then. We can plan on next Wednesday and Thursday,
Yes.
right?
We're planning on Wednesday, and we have it on the books for Thursday as well. I'm sure Wednesday we'll decide if we need that.
Right, exactly. At least that part of it.
We'll post for both.
All right.
and then we can-
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that in your package, I still need to audit the staffing plan. I need the numbers to be accurate because it also the baseline of the negotiation salaries, like what 1% means, what 1 day means for whole teachers union. Also, we have the stipend details in the work too. So hopefully Wednesday we can see their justifications and the
Excellent.
like hours worked for each stipend, and also we try to categorize all the priorities by goals, by district goals. So it's easier for discussion. And also we'll identify proposals, which proposals are due to compliance. So those will be included too.
I believe the Chapter 70 number you carried last year's over. It's very early. Has there been any level of numbers coming forward? I haven't looked myself either. So okay. All right, no worries.
It's always the best process, in my opinion.
Efficient.
It's very efficient.
Very.
Any other questions on the FY27 budget? Okay. Very good. All right. So we're all set? When?
Oh yeah, we're all
We're
set.
all set.
Thank you.
Very good.
Sorry.
Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda tonight. So we have 5 things this time. Before I get started on the minutes, does anybody have any questions or comments about the minutes from last meeting? I see none. All right. So the consent agenda tonight is going to include the following: the approval of minutes from the January 8th, 2026 meeting, approval of 11 warrants in the amount of $906,234.44, professional development in the amount of $7,202.14, 3 gifts totaling $754, and the approval of grants that will total, there's 4 in total, and that is $87,129. Motion to approve. Motion by John, second by Brendan. All in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you. Future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to the list that's not on the long-term plan? No?
All good.
Okay. All right, so that's all we have lined up for our meeting tonight, so we can end this open session. We do not have executive session, so all I need is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Chris, second by Derek. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody.